Good evening, everyone. Before we begin the meeting, I'll ask everyone to please silence cell phones and other electronic devices and remind council that our procedure bylaw prescribes the use of technology during council meetings. I'll call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. by recognizing the traditional keepers of this land and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation with this formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the municipality of Brighton is located on the Mississauga and Anishinaabe territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga. The Council of the Municipality of Brighton recognizes that the Mississauga nations are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Move to the approval of the agenda with a motion by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council approve the before I go there, I'll just let everyone know Councillor Wright has sent regrets for this evening's meeting. And the motion reads that Council approve the October 7th, 2024 Council agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Being any opposed? The motion's carried. Members of Council, do you have any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. And there are none noted. Are there any announcements this evening? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. The planning department is taking a look at their pre-consultation process and the way that people are able to figure out what they're able to do with their land in Brighton. Sometimes the process can be a little bit long and arcane, and our planning department recognizes that it's a really important point of interface with the public. So they have launched a process to re-envision, reimagine this entire process, and they're looking for public participation. So if anyone would like to be a part of a steering committee to figure out what this new process should look like, they should reach out to Mr. Walsh.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. I believe this is our first meeting back since the big Apple Fest weekend. And so I would just like to publicly thank not only staff and the committee for an awesome weekend. It was well attended and well organized, and it was great. So I just want to make sure that all of staff know that we've appreciate all of the hard work they put in.
Thank you for that. Any other announcements? Councillor Wheeldon.
This is our first meeting with these new microphones. Congratulations, clerks. They are fantastic.
We'll see. Give it a minute. It won't be the clerk's fault if something goes wrong. I will just note that the deputy mayor and I had an opportunity to join our friends of the Northumberland Federation of Agriculture at their AGM on Friday evening. It was a well-attended gathering of farming and agricultural friends and those who work in and amongst them, and always a good educational session with our farming friends as well. And on Saturday, I had opportunity to walk a mile in her shoes in support of Cornerstone. I never say it's a pleasure to do so. It's actually quite painful. So I don't know how women do it, and I mean that in terms of walking in high heels. But any opportunity to support our friends at Cornerstone or any of the shelter services across Northumberland is important, and I'm happy to do so. Last chance for announcements. Moving to the adoption of the minutes with a motion moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The Council adopt the September 9th, 2024 Council Planning Meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that Council adopt the September 16th, 2024 Council Meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. I'm missing a motion for September 30th. For the minutes of September 30th. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Before we get to that one, there was a special meeting of council called for a tour. There was not quorum for that tour, so no minutes are available. Is that the one, the tour of the Bunkie? Thank you. I'll need a mover and a seconder that council adopt the September 30th council meeting minutes as presented. Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Fredis. Any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. We have no public meeting this evening. That moves us into delegations and presentations. We have 3 presentations coming for us. Presenters have 15 minutes to provide council with their information. It is noted that language, content, and conduct must always remain respectful. Council will be provided with an opportunity to ask questions of clarification from the presentation representatives based on the information that they have presented. Council is reminded that this is not an opportunity to engage in debate with the presenters, nor advance a public policy position. Presenters are reminded that council does not make decisions during the presentation portion of this evening's meeting. The first presenter is Martha Murphy, CEO of the Community Foundation of Campbellford, Seymour. Ms. Murphy, welcome. And Northumberland. There it is.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, and staff. How is the volume? Is it okay, or do I need to move that? Good, perfect. Lovely microphones, by the way. So firstly, I just want to say that I'm Martha Murphy. I'm the CEO of the Community Foundation of Campbellford, Seymour, and Northumberland. And I'm happy to be here this evening to speak to you about the Community Foundation and the work that we do in the community. Russ Christianson sends his regrets. He's not able to attend today, so I am it. We don't have to tag team today, so thank you. So a little introduction to the Community Foundation. We were created in 2002 by the sale of the municipal hydro utility in Campbellford and Seymour. And at that time, we received $6.2 million. And it was split into 2 funds. Into a community fund, we put $3.1 million, and into the municipal fund, we put another $3.1 million. So the funds were split. And we created a grant program, which was the purpose of the funds for charitable organizations within our community to enhance the quality of life of the residents in our community. That was initially the setup. Since our inception, we've provided grants of $4.2 million in the community. And I call this the power of endowments because we've also operated the charity for the last 23 years. And we still have a balance in funds. That says July 31st, but I have a September balance and it's still just over $7 million. So in terms of we have a board of directors that I work with. There's 7 members of our board of directors, and we also have a municipal councillor that we have attend our meetings because we're managing the municipal fund. So those are those individuals. We also have, oh gosh, what happened here? I'll just put it there maybe. We also have 5 standing committees. If you can just next slide, thanks. We have a finance committee, grant review committee, fund development, environmental stewards, and communication. And those are board members and members of the community that are on those committees. And they're all volunteer positions, of course. Next slide. And then in changes in 2023. So in 2023, as the original community foundation in Northumberland County, we made a public announcement in May that we were changing our name to the Community Foundation of Campbellford, Seymour, and Northumberland. And we were aligning our geographic boundaries to include all of Northumberland County. We also created a Northumberland County Fund, which is a fund that we will be using to provide grants throughout Northumberland County for charitable organizations and qualified donees. That fund, the board decided that they would put $10,000 in as a matching grant opportunity. And right away, we had someone donate $5,000 to that. So the fund is sitting at $15,000 and a few other donations. So it's a little bit over that. So we're excited to be able to offer that fund to anyone in the community that's interested in providing a donation to the Northumberland County Fund for various charitable reasons within our community. We would be providing grants. We also amended our policies to include board members from Northumberland County because we felt that that was important at the time. Then we decided we would create a Northumberland vital signs report. And we did that because we felt it was important to sort of get to know the balance of the communities that we're serving. So we created a vital signs report, which I believe some of these copies have been provided to you and maybe in your mailbox. There are a couple of copies that the clerk has as well. And the purpose for the vital signs report was to have sort of a baseline report for the Statistics Canada information from the census in 2021 in terms of what was going on with our community. And I want to thank Councillor, right? Jeff Wielden. Jeff helped us launch the vital signs report in Brighton when we did our launch event back in April. And so thank you so much for that. It was fabulous to have you there. And since then, we've been talking to all of the municipalities in the Northumberland County geographic area about the Community Foundation and about our vital signs report, trying to just share the information and hopefully it will be used in the community as it's got some really good information, as well as it has we have background reports for all of the different indicators that are indicated in the index. So if you went to the quality education piece on our website, there would be a background report for the education, and it would drill down a little bit deeper into each of the different communities. So there would be data specifically for Brighton in that particular report and in the other reports as background reports. So if you're interested in that, I encourage you to go to our website and sort of take a real deep dive into the stats and the data in that report. They're quite amazing. Moving on. So grants and future funds in 2021, we administered the federal government's Emergency Community Support Fund. A portion of that was provided to Community Foundations of Canada, which is our member organization, and they provided funds to community foundations based on their population, and we received $107,000, which we provided in grants out to the community. We did the same thing in 2023. These were COVID recovery grants. So in 2023, we did the same thing. We administered $322,000 in a larger area. They provided us with the whole area of Trent Hills right through to Cobourg's border. So we were able to provide a larger amount of funding because our population allocation was a little bit bigger. So, and in the future, we are hoping that there will be a Provincial Unclaimed Property Act created for Ontario. Currently, there's acts that are in BC and Alberta. And what these acts are is they gather the monies that are unclaimed in the province. So that would be if somebody left a bank account, passed away, or they had, when the government sends out checks weren't cashed, all of that money gets accumulated. And Community Foundations of Canada is working with the government on taking those funds and then distributing them to the 49 community foundations in Ontario for the purpose of getting that money back out in the community in the form of charities, so that the money isn't just sitting there. So this is something that we're hoping takes place. They've been working on it for over 10 years. So, it may happen, next week, and it may happen in another 10 years. So we're hoping that once that act's in place, we're hoping that those funds would come to us for Northumberland County, and that those monies would be put into the Northumberland County Fund for use within the geographic area of Northumberland County. So again, our goal is to keep the dollars that belong to Northumberland County in Northumberland County. So our funds are invested with the Toronto Foundation, their pooled funds. and they provide administration, stewardship of the funds. And currently, the Toronto Foundation has assets under administration of 758 million. Pooling allows us to have better investment options in terms of rates of return, and as well as lower investment management fees. They do work on a target of an absolute return of 4.5% on any 5-year period. It's currently outsourced to an organization, investment firm called Rock Creek, and they manage about $15 billion. And the track record of outperformance across public and private markets demonstrates the impact. They also look at ESGs, and the responsible investing is they've increased that every year. So I'm not sure what the percentage is right now, but each year they're increasing that, which is part of our mandate. So we are happy with that. So other services that we do offer, we do have endowment administration opportunities. So we do provide fund options for other charitable organizations. So we have agency funds that can be created for other charitable organizations. Currently, we have a Northumberland Land Trust Fund, which provides the interest earned on that investment goes back to the land trust annually for them to use for their administration. There's also permanent endowments that can be set up, or flow-through funds. So for instance, when Campbellford held their 100th anniversary of the high school there, they created a flow-through fund. Any donations went into that fund, and there's funds that are sitting there. If the principal decides that they need funds for anything, they can apply to us to get that funding through. So that's called a flow-through fund. We do provide administration for municipal grant programs. We've obviously been managing the Trent Hills Municipal Program since inception. And we can do that for other municipalities, which the benefit to you would be relieving your staff of the duties of that. Granting is what we do as part of our business. So that's what we've been doing for 23 years. We have very competitive fees. Community knowledge, and even more knowledge now that we've done this report, and we're cause neutral, and we support all charities. So in closing, I have provided a letter of support to be considered at a later time frame for council, and certainly can be amended as you see fit. But we certainly would appreciate if you would consider that and providing us with a letter of support. So thank you.
Thank you, CEO Murphy. I will open the floor to questions of clarification from members of council, but I will also note that we will consider this request tonight under correspondence and direction items.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
it's a little later in the agenda, but it will be considered tonight. Any questions of clarification from members of council? Councillor Botwell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you. The letter of support, what does that give to the foundation? What is the purpose of that?
So the purpose of the letter of support is to basically support our name change, that we're the original community foundation in Northumberland County, as well as our geographical change to Northumberland County. Mostly because we've created these funds in Northumberland County. We want to be able to serve all of the communities. So we want to make sure that you're aware of it, and we're hoping that you support us.
Thank you again. Follow-up. So I understand we're providing support for the name change, but what is important about municipal council supporting a name change? You see what I mean? Like it seems like something you could do on your own.
It's more about the geographic change than the name change, because we had to do that through Canada Revenue Agency, so they're the governing organization that manages that. Okay. But it's the geographic change that we wanted to make sure you were aware of, and we were hoping that you would support that, because once those funds that we're hoping through the Unclaimed Property Acts get into the Northumberland County Fund, we're hoping that you will apply for grants, right? So we'll have this fund, and we want to make sure that you're aware of, and that we want you to be aware that you can apply. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Any other questions? Thank you, CEO.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we won't be insulted if you leave. It's okay. Yes. I have a motion moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Fredis, that Council receive the presentation from Martha Murphy, CEO, Community Foundation of Campbellford, Seymour, and Northumberland. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next presentation is from Heather Ratz, CEO, Brighton Public Library, with regard to Breast Cancer Awareness Month. CEO Ratz.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for, hey, this is a really great mic. I like it. Thank you. I do need one or 10. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight about something that has become near and dear to me and to the library, and that's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Next slide, thanks. So why am I here? I am here to ask that you consider proclaiming on October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Brighton, and that you consider flying the breast cancer flag that I actually have. I'm happy to have you fly the flag outside of 35 Alice Street. So why do I want to do this? Well, I would like to show support for those who are going through breast cancer. And I also want to raise awareness. There are some things I've learned in the last few months that we really must trust our gut. We know our body best. I want to be able to share resources about self-examinations and mammograms. And tomorrow, the age for self-referrals for mammograms in Ontario is reduced to 40 from the age of 50. So that's good news. Next slide. And the facts are that breast cancer is the most common cancer among Canadian women, excluding non-melanoma skin cancers, and it is the second leading cause of death from cancer in Canadian women, and this comes right from the Canadian Cancer Society. It's estimated that this year, in 2024, there will be more than 30,000 new cases in women and 290 in men. Yes, men can get breast cancer. And there will be an estimated 5,500 deaths in women and 60 in men. So, like I said at the beginning, this is a bit personal. We all know that cancer doesn't discriminate. It touches all of us. I think we all know someone that has been affected by it. Perhaps we have been diagnosed with cancer as well. Cancer doesn't care who they pick. They just pick at random, and that's what they do. Next slide. So there is the personal element that came to the Brighton Public Library team, and our staff has been affected. It went from, it's nothing to worry about, it's nothing, to chemo, surgery, radiation, long road to recovery, and eventual resignation from the position because of the journey that this person is on. So that's why I'm here. I really want to advocate for this. Next slide. So tonight, we're not going to cure cancer, but what can we do? We can advocate for it. We can talk about it. We can share resources and stories and experiences. Sorry. And we can walk. So we walked yesterday. You've probably heard of the CIBC Run for the Cure. There is not a local one here, but I said, I'm going to form a team and walk for 5 kilometers on the first Sunday in October. And word got out, and Christine Roger of Roger & Co. got on board, and it just became this big, really big thing, and it was wonderful. We had a great turnout. I don't know how many people, I'll have to look at the group photo, but together we raised just over $7,800, and Roger & Co. was able to match some of those donations. So we're hoping that we can actually make it bigger next year and get more people involved. So when you start by just saying, you know, I'm going to do something small, it just snowballs into more people, more advocacy, more resources, more knowledge, which is really what we want. And last slide, please. So the staff member's name is Penny. So our team was Penny for your thoughts. I asked her for a bit of a quote. She's so positive. And she just said, yeah, I'm in a marathon. I didn't train for it, and I'm learning day by day. And that is all. Thank you. And you know where to find me if you want the flag. I know you won't decide right now.
Do you have it on you?
I do have it on me.
I think if you just maybe give it to one of the members of staff, or the clerk's going to get it from you. Because I would be shocked if council didn't support this, frankly. Not that I would want to persuade council one way or the other, but even if they don't support it, we'll get that flag up.
Great, thank you.
I know a guy.
And if you didn't get a pink ribbon, I only grabbed a handful. We have them at the library, and we will have resources for self-examination and where to go for a mammogram as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you leave, Heather, I'll just ask if council has any questions of clarification for the presenter. Thank you, CEO. Motion is moved by Councillor Fredis, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that council receive the delegation from Heather Ratz, CEO, Brighton Public Library, requesting October be proclaimed as Breast Cancer Awareness Month within the municipality of Brighton. And I should have noted that we will be considering this request under correspondence and direction items this evening. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next presentation is from Michelle Cohen, Staff Physician, Lakeview Family Health Team Physician Retention. Dr. Cohen, welcome. You just push the button in front of you there. There you go.
There we go. Thank you. That does sound better. I'm Michelle Cohen. I'm a family doctor here in Brighton at the Lakeview Family Health Team. With me, I brought tonight Wendy Parker, who is our administrator of our family health organization, and Dr. Svetlana Striutz, one of the doctors in our tonight's schedule does not quite, cooperate sometimes. So thank you very much again for giving us the time to come speak to you. We really appreciate it. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'll be brief. The three of us in our physician community have spent many years in this community providing primary care through a lot of upheaval and other doctors who have come and gone from our community. The situation is getting more difficult in the past few years, and it's getting harder to run a general family practice. And we all know that primary care in Ontario is in crisis, and that small communities in particular are the ones who are most affected. I've sent some articles when I made my application for the delegation tonight. And I think we're all pretty familiar already with how hard it is to find a family doctor and how that situation seems to be getting worse. So for us personally, every time a doctor retires or leaves our community becomes an added stress to those of us who are still here. We often end up taking on patients for family doctors who leave, but it's never enough to meet the increased need, and we feel continually pressured to do more with less. We've also had to deal with increasing numbers of local specialists who retire and leave, which for us means dealing with ever-growing wait lists or specialist clinics that simply just refuse to see our patients, and then we're just kind of left, in the lurch. And when local emergency rooms are overrun and wait times in the emergency stretch past 12 hours, our patients avoid acute care and they call us instead. Our costs continue to rise, and many costs like medical supplies have skyrocketed since COVID and are just not coming back down. So it's just kind of the new reality. We have to accept that our costs have increased. Our offices are not funded the way hospitals are. We individually all bear the costs of running a medical clinic, and we're also healthcare employers in this local community who employ numerous people. The bottom line is that running a general family practice has become much more stressful in the past several years, and this is a big reason why across the province and the country we've seen a lot of practices close. So I think the question of how to support family doctors in small communities is an important one for this council to consider. Like many towns, Brighton has recruitment strategies to attract new family doctors, but I'm honestly unsure if there are any retention strategies that exist to support the existing family doctors who don't want to burn out and have to close our offices, but who are feeling increased pressure in the past several years. Recently, Quinte West Council announced a retention fund to support its local family doctors. And I think that's actually very helpful for those doctors to feel like the community wants them to keep going and to continue providing those essential services despite how difficult it is. So it's an acknowledgement of just how challenging it is and how costs are increasing and the work itself is getting more difficult. And I know that Belleville Council has also spoken to its local family doctors, but I don't know any of the details, but I know that's been an open conversation as well. So in addition to encouraging existing doctors to keep their practices open despite the increased challenges of the healthcare system, a good retention strategy also does help with recruitment. When a prospective doctor visits a community, one of their main questions is, how stressed out are the local doctors? And I could speak to this as a former locum doctor. I worked in many different settings before settling down in this community and starting my practice here. So recruitment bonuses are always attractive, they always catch a lot of attention, but in considering where to work, doctors want to think about their day-to-day life. When that bonus is done, when that time is up, what is my day-to-day work going to be like? And they won't choose to work somewhere where everyone seems burned out and miserable all the time, even if there is a very generous bonus. Prospective doctors want to know what kind of relationship the existing doctors have with their town and how supported they feel. So a retention fund like the one Quinte West will be implementing actually doubles as a recruitment tool at the same time. So in closing, I want to thank Council for this opportunity to speak, and I hope that I've opened the door to a discussion about physician retention. I know this is something that Council is going to be speaking about in terms of other recruitment and retention strategies. And we, at least in my community, my group, have not been involved in those conversations at this point. And so I'm just hoping that this is a way to open the door to future discussions in going forward with what can be done to support the local family doctors, the existing doctors in this community. Okay, thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, Dr. Cohen. And we'll just check if council has any questions of clarification. I will note that we do have a staff report on tonight's agenda specific to this this discussion point. So we'll see where council wants to go with that. Questions of clarification from members of council? Thank you, Dr. Cohen.
Thank you.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council receive the delegation from Michelle Cohen, staff physician, Lakeview Family Health Team, for information. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Madam Clerk, are there any citizens' comments this evening? Brings us to staff reports. The first report is the 2024 second quarter financial report. Director Whitfield, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Mayor Ostrander, thank you, but no, not at this time.
Thank you for that. I have a motion moved by Councillor Fredis, seconded by Councillor Butwell. The council received the 2024 second quarter financial report as information. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next report is Physician Retention Incentive Program, CAO. We've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, I do not.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council directs staff to seek legal advice on the legality of incentivizing physicians in return for maintaining their practice in the municipality of Brighton. And the council refer cost of a physician retention incentive program to the 2025 budget. Is there any discussion? Councillor Fredis.
Through the chair to the CAO. I just wanted to confirm that this incentive program is kind of a mirror of what Quinte West is implementing. This is the first question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Fredis, that is correct. We wanted to get something in front of council, recognizing that Quinte West has moved forward. I still do have some questions with regard to, ensuring that we are staying in line with the Municipal Act, and specifically, we're not allowed to bonus. So when we use the word bonusing, we have to be very cautious in how we move forward. So we'd like to do some additional investigation. So at this point, we were looking for council to direct staff to bring this back to budget discussions.
Thank you both. Councillor Fredis.
So although I concur with being cautious and making sure we're not in violation of bonusing under the MA, I would just like to mention that I highly support this incentive. I think it's imperative that we recognize the cost burden that established physicians are undergoing, and it's imperative that we recognize the long-standing contribution they've made to our municipality, notwithstanding what we do for retention, but I think this is equally as important, if not more so. So I just wanted to lay that out there.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? During budget, I hope we can also have a conversation of not just incentive programs, but sort of next steps and what else we can do. And an example, I think, is Norwood, which essentially built a clinic, staffed the clinic, and said, come on in, we'll essentially cover everything. You bill the patient, or you bill OHIP for the patient. So there's just all sorts of different models in rural Ontario that we can take a look at. I know, Councillor Fredis, you've mentioned the Godrich model before. And there's just all sorts of other, I don't think there's a cookie cutter is what I'm trying to get at. So certainly we need to be supportive of the physicians that are here, as well as continuing to attempt to recruit new ones. But I do wish the province of Ontario would come to the table on this one. Any further discussion on the motion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next report is the CAO's ongoing report on capital projects update. CAO, we've read through the report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, I do not.
I have a motion moved by, thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Boutwell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council received the CAO ongoing report and capital projects update for information. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. We have no notices of motion or motions. We have nothing listed under unfinished business. There are no bylaws to consider this evening, which brings us to reports and minutes of advisory committees of council and review teams. First is the JL Richards preliminary and final design services Brighton wastewater treatment upgrades virtual meeting minutes of August 27th and September 10th. This is an internal committee, is that correct, CAO?
Mr. Mayor, this is the group with MECP as well as our consultants and staff with regard to the wastewater treatment facility.
And so these are the minutes that were promised to be kept in front of council.
That is
Thank you
correct.
very much for that. Moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the Brighton wastewater treatment upgrades virtual teams meetings minutes of August 27th, 2024 and September 10th, 2024 as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next is the Environmental Sustainability Advisory Committee. Councillors Wheeldon and Butwell, do you have anything to provide us any background information on these?
Not for this one, no.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Fredis, that council received the July 2nd, 2024 Environmental Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next is the Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting minutes. Councillor Fredis or Deputy Mayor, do you have anything to note on these? No. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council received the draft minutes of the Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting of September 5th, 2024 as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. Brings us to a recommendation coming out of the October 1st Environmental Sustainability Advisory Committee. With a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council support the recommendation from the Environmental Sustainability Advisory Committee to support the Brian Todd Memorial Fund's annual Children's Art Competition theme of pollinators for the 2025 competition. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Brings us to reports and minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. The first comes from Lower Trent. Councillor Wheeldon, anything to bring to our attention here?
Not on this one, no.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council receive the Lower Trent Conservation Authority regular board meeting minutes of July 11th as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. The next comes from the Northumberland Intermunicipal Task Force on Housing and Homelessness. Councillor Wheeldon, anything to add here?
Yeah, I'll just give a quick rundown of where discussions have been at with the task force. Last meeting, we talked quite a bit about communication and how there are a lot of challenges communicating around homelessness response, because county staff are basically not allowed to tell you anything about somebody who's experiencing homelessness without violating their privacy. So a lot of times when people have a concern or a complaint and they call it in, they don't necessarily get any resolution to their concern. And it feels sometimes to people like the county is not doing enough, or maybe the county isn't doing anything. And so we talked about how can we address that without putting people in a position of having their privacy violated, while still protecting the people who are the most vulnerable, but also giving a more satisfying response to people who are expressing concern. Because right now, a lot of the political conversation is around whether or not the county is doing anything. And the reality is that they're doing an awful lot that we don't get to see, even when we're in a position as we are around this council table of having influence and some knowledge. We don't get that satisfying resolution. So I just thought it was important to flag that this is a conversation that I think can move toward a positive outcome. The other thing that was briefly discussed in here is moving toward a training session for all elected officials in Northumberland County coming up in November. So expect an invitation to that soon. And we're also working with the building community to try and put together a housing summit for Northumberland that will bring together developers, builders, realtors, lenders, municipal officials, and elected officials, so that we can all map the process of the housing development process, so that we can understand where the costs come in, where the timelines get long, and hopefully find some levers that we can pull to shorten that and make housing more affordable, sustainable, and accessible.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. I have a motion moved by Councillor Fredis, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that Council receive the Northumberland Intermunicipal Task Force on Housing and Homelessness meeting summary September 19th, 2024 as information. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. And from the Library Board, Councillor Rowley, anything to bring to our attention? Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that Council receive the June 26, 2024 Library Board meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Bringing us to correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, and petitions. The first comes from the Community Foundation of Campbellford, Seymour, and Northumberland, with a motion moved by Councillor Fredis, seconded by Councillor Butwell. The Council supports the request for a name change of the foundation from the original title Campbellford Seymour Community Foundation to Community Foundation of Campbellford, Seymour, and Northumberland, and to support the alignment of the Community Foundation's geographic boundaries to serve all of Northumberland County. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. And a request from the Brighton Public Library to proclaim October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, with a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon. The Council of the Municipality of Brighton hereby proclaims the month of October 2024 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month to raise public awareness and recognition of the illness and its effects, encouraging women especially to be conscious of the benefits of early detection, diagnosis, and treatment of breast cancer. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Letter from Brighton Rotary declaring October 24th World Polio Day, with a motion moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council supports or receives the request from the Rotary Club of Brighton to proclaim October 24th as World Polio Day and the raising of the polio flag. Councillor Butwell is the mover. I assume we'll support this. Deputy Mayor, you're okay with that? So I have circled support, crossed out receive. Any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next is correspondence from the Regional Municipality of Waterloo, solve the crisis. With a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council support the motion from the Regional Municipality of Waterloo regarding solve the crisis, referring to homelessness, mental health, and addiction crises across Ontario. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you. I was very pleased to see this from the Regional Municipality of Waterloo. As you know, they had a court decision last year where actually the Regional Municipality of Waterloo had taken it to the Superior Court to ask for a decision to give them clarity about what they can do about encampments within their region, because I wanted to make sure that they were operating within the human rights of their residents. And the reality is that while we do need to have a plan for how to deal with housing and homelessness at the local level, we operate within a much larger framework over which we have very little control. And so I found this letter to be fairly comprehensive in the way that it points out that no matter what our policy is here at the lowest level, or even at the regional level or county level, that without addressing the underlying issues in the larger framework, and especially the ability to create more shelter for people, we can't do it on our own. So I love this motion. Thank you for supporting.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next, from the Municipality of St. Charles, support Larder Lake Asset Retirement Obligation Resolution. With a motion moved by Councillor Fredis, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that council endorse the resolution of the Township of Larder Lake and call upon the Province of Ontario to provide financial assistance to municipalities to complete the ARO. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you. I don't know all of the details of the ARO, but I have researched enough and asked people who know to know that while accounting standards are very important, if a municipality is not capable of actually fulfilling the requirements, and it puts a lot of stress on their staff, that if the province wants it done, it should help pay for it. So I support that in principle.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Brings us to FYI correspondence. The first is the Northumberland County update. The motion moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Fredis, that council receive the Northumberland County update September 16th to 27th, 2024 as information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley?
Thank you, Mayor. On page 2 of 3 regarding the proposed changes to inspection fees for plumbing and septic, I see that there is going to be a public meeting at some point, but will the county make sure that our builders and developers, along with our staff, get all of that information?
I believe the public meeting was last week.
Oh, I missed it already. Oh, yeah, I read the date wrong. I
I
guess we make sure that our staff?
I actually don't know the answer to that question. I wonder if our Director of Planning could chime in here.
Through the Mayor and Council, yes, we have been advised of the change of fees and we'll be communicating that to applicants.
I assume we don't know if the County of Northumberland advised the private sector of these proposed changes, but they would have been publicly made available.
Yeah, they're generally pretty good at their communication, so I assume so, but I can't confirm that as a fact.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? Councillor Wheeldon?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, on page 2 of 3, the county is seeking feedback on draft corporate greenhouse gas emissions reduction plan. The county, it has begun their climate action plan. It's a very exciting time. This council was very supportive in our first year of this term when we put together the Tamarack climate cohort. And when I say we, I mean Community Power Northumberland funded a Tamarack climate cohort, and Pamela Vanderberg and I took part in that. And one of the things that we did as a cohort was bring a delegation to county council, or maybe committee, I don't remember which, to ask that the climate action plan, when it would be developed, would include creating a basis for collaboration among lower tier municipalities on climate action as we all develop our own climate action plans. So I'm very excited that we are getting very close to developing our climate action plan here in Brighton, although we're calling it something different. I can't remember exactly what it is. But the county plan, which is on northumberland.ca, go there and please fill out the survey. It's excellent. Includes mentioning that as specifically one of their goals. So very glad that we've been effective in creating a basis for collaboration on climate action moving forward. And the more people who comment on that survey, the better. So check it out at northumberland.ca.
Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. The next is a resolution from the County of Northumberland regarding correspondence from the town of Bradford, West Willamberry regarding the Ontario Long Service Medals. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council receive the resolution from Northumberland County regarding correspondence received by the town of Bradford, West Willamberry regarding Ontario Long Service Medals. Is there any discussion? I wonder if we would support this. It's with regard to ensuring that paramedics are included in the long-term service medals, which they are currently not as a group. So, Councillor Wheeldon, are you okay if we change that to support?
Absolutely. It said receive only in the note, so I'm happy to support.
Councillor Rowley is the second. Are you okay with that? So I've changed receive to support. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Brings us to question period. Are there any questions from anyone in the gallery? Mr. Green, please come forward and state your name for the record.
Thank you, David Green. For the record, I'm talking to item 10.2 on the agenda. Dr. Lambraco's name has not been mentioned lately at all. She left 11 months ago, and to the best of my knowledge, she has not made a repayment to Brighton. I can ask, but I don't honestly expect an answer, but have you received any payment from Dr. Lambracos? And have we made any other progress in collecting her incentive pay? We can't let this set a precedent. We paid Dr. Lambracos a large amount of money, possibly one of the largest we have ever paid to a doctor. And we can't let Brighton be seen as the bank for doctors, can we?
There are several questions there, Mr. Green. I'll work it backwards a little bit. I would say we cannot expect have doctors see the municipality as a bank or a granting agency. But your first two questions were you can ask and you can likely not receive an answer. I would suggest you are correct on both. You're welcome. Is there anything we can say for the record in public? I can say it is with our legal team. The item is with our legal team. Any other questions? No? Deputy Clerk, there's no one on Zoom, I assume. Thank you. That brings us to our closed session resolution. I will read the closed session resolution. Should council choose to go into closed session, we will end the YouTube live stream for the duration of tonight's meeting, and we will take a 10-minute recess. I have a motion moved by Councillor Fredis, seconded by Councillor Butwell. The council resolve into closed session October 7th, 2024 at 7:25 p.m. Pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act RSO 2001 as amended, subsection 239(2)A, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees or local board employees, appointment members to Rural Advisory Committee and Health Services Advisory Committee, and C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, sale of land in the industrial park, Sharp Road. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. It is 7:26 p.m. We will recess until 7:36 p.m.